Paul's back now with another installment of Stories of Service.
Yeah, you know what always strikes me, Catherine, when we hear about so many of these veterans' close calls, it makes me wonder how things would have been different if that veteran was one of the 400,000 Americans killed during World War II. This week's veteran is a perfect example of that because Fresno's Frank Creede has definitely left his mark on our valley.
His 30 years on the bench are what prompted the law library at the Fresno County Courthouse to be named in his honor. But look closely at that bronze bust of Judge Frank J. Creede, Jr., and you'll see the same gleam in his eye that he gets when he talks about the land he loves.
How many countries are there that have the type of liberty and the type of opportunity that we have? Freedom and liberty are not something that you inherit. You have to work at it every day.
Growing up in San Francisco as the son of a prominent lawyer, Frank already had a year at Stanford under his belt when he joined the Army at age 18. Basic training at Camp Roberts came with the dreaded 25-mile hike.
On a 103-degree day, and so you know that when you survive that, you can survive anything. The officer who was in charge of our basic training said, well, the day may come that you'll be, wish you were back at Camp Roberts. I thought to myself, that day will never come, but it did.
Just a few months later, he would find himself shivering near the Siegfried Line with the 106th Infantry Division.
The Schnee-Eifel Mountains of the Ardennes forest, which is on the border of Belgium and Germany. But, you know, our attitude was, the war is almost over.
Little did you know.
Little did we know.
Little did they know, the Battle of the Bulge was about to begin.
They told us it's a quiet sector, it's a good place to break into combat, and outside of patrol activity, no heavy engagements are anticipated. And while they're talking, the Germans have more than 250,000 troops, 980 tanks, and 1,000 artillery pieces ready to go at 5:30 a.m. on December 16th. First thing you thought of is, why didn't I dig that foxhole another 2 feet down? Well, the reason was the ground was frozen. My job was to get the ammunition from the Jeep to the gun without getting shot.
How difficult was that?
Not too difficult if you ran fast.
For 3 days, he kept running, and the guns kept firing until
they said, don't shoot when the Germans come in. And I thought some Germans were surrendering to us.
Frank didn't know the Americans were surrounded. 2 full regiments, 7,000 men, would be surrendered to the Germans.
They treated us like soldiers. I mean, there was no physical violence, and if you didn't cause them trouble, they didn't cause you any trouble.
He did his best not to cause any trouble as the POWs marched for 2 days, then spent 4 days packed in boxcars. They would finally reach their destination on December 25th, 1944.
Beautiful, clear, crisp, cold Christmas day at Stalag 9B.
At Stalag 9B, he would see some of his fellow POWs killed by friendly fire when a U.S. warplane strafed the camp. And he would survive on about 750 calories a day. The crude utensils he crafted are on display with his POW dog tag at Fresno's Veterans Memorial Museum. And he still has the pieces of German scrap paper on which he penciled in big events, rumors they heard, and lists of restaurants back home where the POWs could only dream about eating. That kept his mind occupied and his spirits high while his weight plummeted.
I lost about 32 pounds in 3.5 months. When I read all these ads for Jenny Craig and Weight Watchers, I said, oh, you don't need anything like that. I'll write out a POW diet and you'll melt like a snowman or woman in the sun.
The day after Easter, April 2nd, 1945, Stalag 9B was liberated. And 4 weeks later, this American teenager would catch a glimpse of something he'd wondered if he'd ever see again.
The only time I had tears in my eyes during the whole time I was in the Army was coming into New York Harbor and seeing the Statue of Liberty. That brought tears to my eyes.
What did that mean to you?
Oh, it meant everything. It meant everything that America stands for. Freedom, and we take so much for granted.
He has such passion for his country, and he hasn't taken anything for granted since he was a POW. He said it bothers him just to see food wasted on someone's plate.
Oh, I can imagine.
Such
yeah.
a severe situation at the time.